Ever since I was 16 years old, I've always been waiting for my older self to begin taking my life more seriously. I was waiting for some point, some event to happen for my older self to eventually start studying and applying myself in school. Stop procrastinating. Stop letting my friends at the time in high school disrespect me and basically bully me. Stop being anxious when talking to girls and all of these things that I was failing on when I was a lot younger. And I realized when I was thinking right now that even after having a near-death experience at about like 20, 21 years old, nothing changed after that. I thought after hearing all these success stories of these guys who they almost died and so they started living life deliberately and actually giving a fuck about their lives. I heard so many stories like this one that I want to share with you of my brother's friend who we'll call like Michael. And Michael, when he was like a teenager, like 15, 16, he had this brain hemorrhage or some blood vessel just popped in his brain and he was just in the middle of walking on the sidewalk doing whatever. And then he fell down and he couldn't move. He was essentially having a stroke where, and it's terrifying, but like half of his face was drooping down because the muscles stopped working and he was almost gonna die. And this guy, Mike, he has this miracle recovery story of the day that he was rushed to the emergency room. It was the same day that apparently the best doctor in the USA came off of his like vacation or whatever that thing's called. I don't know, there's some special word for when doctors take a vacation. But he came back from that, and he came the day that Mike was rushed into the ER. And so he was able to fix him up. But the best that he could do was put him into a vegetative state for 4 months, where he couldn't talk to his family, he couldn't move. He was basically just asleep, eating food through his elbow. It was horrifying. And he had to go into this physical therapy, this PT, to learn how to walk again, to learn how to talk again. It was awful. But eventually, he came back and he's now one of the most... Like when you say a guy who is carpe dieming this shit, a guy who's living deliberately, this is the guy that I think of because he is 24-ish. He's making 6 figures in some tech company. In the winters, he teaches skiing in his free time because his passion is skiing. And in the summers, he teaches sailing. And he's making boatloads of money from that, right? Pun intended. And he's a guy with passions and he's driven and motivated. And he's living deliberately. I can't say it enough because that is if I could describe what I want out of a life-changing dopamine detox, that's what it is. I want to learn how to be passionate and live deliberately, like Mike does. Unfortunately, though, my near-death experience, it didn't change anything at all. And I want to tell you that story as well before I give you the main points of this video. When I was, 21, actually, I had 2 near-death experiences in the same week. Me and my friends at the time in university, we went on this reading week trip to one of the cities beside of ours. Because it was kind of like, it was like a popular reading week. You go there with your friends and you get super drunk, right? And we were in this hostel where, you know, the food is covered, everybody sleeps in bunk beds, it's super affordable, right? And we go to this continental breakfast, right? So it's a breakfast buffet where there's all of the bagels, the cereals, the milk, cheese, whatever. Everything is all spread across. And unfortunately, in that week, for breakfast, they mixed up the knives for this thing that I'm like deathly allergic to, and they mixed it up with this other food. And so I knew immediately that once I took a bite of my food, and I instantly knew, you get a 6th sense when you have allergies. I've looked this up, it's actually true. You have a 6th sense, it's called an impending sense of doom. And that it perfectly describes it. that you get a sixth sense and you realize, oh, I'm going to die in 30 minutes. And that feeling, it doesn't haunt me anymore. I've moved past it, and I'm very grateful for that, for all the support from friends and family. But for the year and a half following that, I felt that impending sense of doom when I would literally just be walking around. I would like smell some trees or something, and it would trigger this impending sense of doom, and I had these panic attacks, man. But anyways, in that week, I had that one first instance where I had to get rushed to the emergency room. You know, they put me on the bed and they hooked me up to a bunch of needles and everything. And all I was thinking is how I don't want to die around these people. Like the friends that I was going on that trip with, they were good friends, like acquaintances. But I was thinking, these aren't my like best friend people. You know what I mean? This isn't my tribe where I belong. And we're all like a friend group of 6-7 people where all 7 of the people have a personal relationship with the others. It was kind of a friend group where one person was the glue friend. And I'm sure you know exactly what I'm saying. And I was just thinking like, man, this is not the people that I'm supposed to die next to. But unfortunately, I went to the ER. We notified the hostel like, hey, be more safe with this kind of thing. But then unfortunately, the exact same thing happened on the day we were supposed to leave. Right. And I literally missed the bus to go back home because I was in the hospital until like 1 a.m. and I had to catch some next bus. Ever since that week, I had a year and a half of panic attacks, man, where I would just, I would smell oxygen and I would think that I'm having an allergic reaction that's going to kill me. It would happen in the middle of class. It would happen when I was anywhere except my bedroom. That was like my safe space. And whenever I left my bedroom, I know it sounds so cliche, but I would have these panic attacks on like an almost daily basis. You think I'm exaggerating, but seriously, every 2-3 days for a year and a half, I would get so anxious that the muscles in my face froze up. And this is what my face looked like. I would be talking to somebody and I'd be like, it looks terrifying with this lighting, but I would just be like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. With my mouth open like this. It was awful. And you would hope that a near-death experience like this would make me start living deliberately. It would make me make the most of the moment. Carpe diem. Really apply myself at school. Stop procrastinating on everything. Stop taking my social life so lazily. And just talking to like the same 3 people all the time. Putting no effort into meeting other ambitious, hardworking young men. It didn't cause a change in me. So the point of today's video, I'm not just going to end it on a negative note for you. The point of this video is, and I've made a video about this before, but it's probably the most important lesson I can ever teach you on this channel. It's that there is no point that's coming in the future where you are going to start taking your life seriously. Ever since I was 16, I mentioned this at the start of the video, I've been waiting for a point where my older self, he would start taking life seriously. And that point, even in the face of death, that point didn't happen for me. Like it did for that Michael that I was talking about earlier. And I think that most people are like me. You know, you hear the rare few cases where this one guy, he has a crazy story. He almost dies and then now he starts living life to the fullest, you know, the cliche story. But I think most of us, that point is never coming. And the sooner we realize that fact, the sooner kind of that realization becomes your point. Today's action mission for you, brother. And I got too invested in the story, bro. Let me just remind you that, hey, brother, I'm Ethan. And on this channel, I make videos for young men in the self-improvement depression stage of knowing everything that you need to be doing after watching thousands of these men's self-improvement YouTube videos, but you haven't taken consistent action for whatever reason. And because I spent 18 years old to 24 years old, 6 years of my life in that phase, I decided to create this channel to document my process of graduating out of this and becoming a man of action. And I'm also cherry picking the golden lessons that I want to share with you to help you graduate faster, because sort of my external motivator is that if I can help my boys, you, shorten your self-improvement depression stage, your SIDS, by a cumulative 6 years, you know, like what's 6 times 365, like 2,100 guys. I can shorten it by 1 day, or for one guy, I can shorten it for 6 years. It kind of feels like I'm buying that time of my life back, right? So that's why I created the channel. And in every one of these videos, I make a daily action mission where I don't want this to be another channel that you can binge all day without getting any action done. So for today's video action mission, I want you to be honest with yourself. You can look through your journaling notes. Maybe you use Evernote, maybe you use Notion, maybe you use physical notes on a journal. But I want you to go through your notes and just really reminisce. Have I ever delayed the point in my life that I'm going to start taking it seriously? Because if you read any of these books on masculinity, like The Hard Times Create Strong Men, Way of the Superior Man, becoming a man these days, there's no rituals anymore. There's no rites of passage. You really have to become a man by taking responsibility for your own life. And this realization that you're not going to have some point where your older self starts taking your life seriously. I think for a lot of us young men, that realization is going to be the point that we truly become men of action. So with that, brother, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to click on the playlist that I specifically engineered to get you to take action after every one of these videos. It's like a playlist where I give my best tips on how to actually get value and take action from these. So click on that video now, and I'll see you in the next video.